External Affairs Ministry, meanwhile, has refused to comment on Trump's post, but also dismissing the comments that have come to the fore from others within the Trump administration, from the likes of Peter Navarro.
आपका सवाल भी इस पे था, तो इस पे हमारे पास अभी टिप्पणी करने के लिए कोई आपका सवाल भी इस पे था, तो इस पे हमारे पास अभी टिप्पणी करने के लिए
question regarding SCO Development Bank, which has a mention in the joint statement, in the Tianjin Declaration. At this point in time, or at this stage, we are examining the proposal. Further, in relation to your other part of the question, we don't have any details to share at this point.
Siddhant, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more perspective on this. Siddhant, this is a clear indication that the bonhomie that we saw in Tianjin in China has rattled the Trump administration.
Well, that's right, Poonam. And in fact, this I have been saying since his post that there was Poonam, indeed a lot of pressure on President Trump from the strategic community, think tanking community in DC. The Democrats were kind of leading this campaign against President Trump and holding him accountable for losing India to China, for making India pivot to China and Russia, etc., etc. All those things were being said by Jake Sullivan, Kurt Campbell, Fareed Zakaria, and many others, Poonam. So, this should also be seen in context of that pressure which was building on President Trump. And perhaps, now he, in a way, is trying to blame Indian Prime Minister, for taking a visit to Tianjin for the breakdown of the ties or for damaging the India-US partnership. So this is his response, not for India, but I look at it his response to the strategic community and think tanking community in Washington, Poonam. Point number one. Point number two, there is also another side to this particular post. Now, he has posted this photograph of President Putin, President Xi, and Prime Minister Modi when they met for the first time in BRICS last year in Kazan on the sidelines of BRICS. Now, in the photo, you could see that President Xi and President Putin are walking ahead of Prime Minister Modi. So, also he's sending a message to India that let's be friends, let's be partners. Don't go with President Xi and President Putin. They are conspiring against the United States. So that's also, kind of an interpretation which I'm getting to know being done by many here in New Delhi. So there's a lot of scope is still left in the partnership. As I have been saying, that this relationship is beyond personalities. In fact, the Ministry of External Affairs just said in the press briefing that Yuddha Abhyas is already going on in Alaska. There was a 2+2 official level dialogue last week. In fact, their defense policy committee visited India. So, in fact, MEA still says that Quad is a very valuable grouping, perhaps, where the member countries need to discuss issues. So, as far as signaling from Ministry of External Affairs or the government of India is concerned, there is no such signaling. They are very much committed to taking this partnership, this friendship forward. And in fact, MEA, right after President Trump's post, again reiterated, in fact, again said that they are very much in touch with their American counterparts. Back to you.
Right, Siddhant, do stay on with us. Akanksha also joins us, getting us more perspective on this. And Akanksha, we saw the kind of camaraderie in Tianjin at the SCO summit. Many analysts did believe that the tariff war, the tirade that we had seen from Trump and his aides is what is pushing India into China's corner. And these are three countries that the United States has a problem with on multiple fronts, be it about security or be it about hegemony as far as China goes, or be it about trade.
Poonam, it should be highlighted that the latest comment that's come in from the US President is again reeking of hypocrisy. On one hand, he's in fact accusing India of getting in bed with authoritarians like Russia and China. On the other hand, he's also trying to dictate who India should be conducting its diplomacy with. India has always maintained this since the time of the Cold War era, that they believe in non-alignment, which gradually evolved into multipolarity. Having said that, perhaps it's also the messaging that has come out from the Russian president himself, who just a day ago ago from Chinese soil went on to talk about how it's the end of the colonial era and that US is not in a position to dictate terms to economic giants, was the term he used, for India and China, and that they are free to trade with whoever they wish to do so. At the same time, as Siddhant also highlighted, India has been extremely guarded, and we've also maintained, as has the wider Trump administration, that the Trump view is not what the view of the overall Trump administration is. That case in point is also in that message that was sent out just days ago by the US Embassy, in fact lauding the India-US bilateral relationship as a defining relationship of the 21st century. And that also had a quote of what the US State Department, in fact the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio had to say. So perhaps there are, if you have a Peter Navarro, if you have a Scott Bessent, you also have many others like a J.D. Vance, like US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. So India is being very guarded at the moment. They have highlighted.
Absolutely, and which is why we didn't see any comment coming in from the Ministry of External Affairs. Akanksha, do stay on with us. Former Indian diplomat Pinakaranjan Chakravarti is also joining us here on the broadcast. So thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. How do you look at this comment that has come to the fore from Donald Trump, where he says we've lost India to China and Russia?
Well, I think Trump is being rhetorical. It's not that he is being, what shall I say, very serious about it. His advisors and ministers, some of them are, of course, towing his line and being rhetorical, but the others are being quietly sort of, giving assurances. There's no question of getting lost to anybody. We live in an integrated, globalized world where everybody is doing business with everyone else. So I think this is just one of those rhetorical statements that he has become very famous for. He seeks publicity by these statements. So I'm not so sure that he actually either means or understands what he's saying.
But how do you see then this impacting the negotiations that are on between the two countries? I mean, we are still in talks with the United States for a trade deal. In fact, India is very confident that those negotiations will reach its logical conclusion by the end of this year. And at a time like that, we see these comments coming to the fore.
Well, I think he is still probably looking for some more added pressure so that India gives the concessions that they want, which unfortunately that we cannot do. And in fact, the trade deal is more or less final, except for those areas where we have said that we cannot, open up those sectors, like dairy, agriculture, and things like that. But otherwise, that deal is almost done. So it's a question of time when it is, when somebody realizes in Washington, at least Trump realizes that this is what we have, and it's a very good deal, in my view, from whatever little I know, and that it's high time to accept it and move on. So I think this is the problem now, but he still feels that, some rhetorics might help in getting more concessions, etc. I think from what I know about the trade deal, we have given them quite a lot of concessions, and I think in our basically, we have basically a trade deal in sight. So like in any trade deal, we have to give and take. That's what has happened. So I think if you talk to the trade specialists, they will tell you that, we have a very good deal on the table. Now it's up to you to accept it.
Right. Ms. Chakravarti, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. What happens to that trade deal, of course, we will find out. But New Delhi is confident that we are going to be reaching with the United States a deal by the end of November, by the end of fall. That was something that the two leaders, Prime Minister Modi and President Donald Trump, had discussed earlier this year when Prime Minister Modi was in the United States. Siddhant, my colleague, continues to be with us, getting us more perspective on this as well. Siddhant, as far as India and China are concerned, even though many analysts are saying that India is being pushed into China's corner because of what the United States is doing, but it's not as easy as that, because India has its own share of issues with China, isn't it?
Well, that's right. And also very important to highlight, Poonam, time and again, India has said this from multiple platforms, that India-China relationship is not directed towards any third country. So India has been making this position very clear. Perhaps we should also put out that document from the Indian side for our viewers. that India has been consistent in saying this, that this particular relationship has nothing to do with the third country or directed towards third country. Also, Poonam, very important to highlight. Just a few days back, U.S. Embassy came up with a post saying that this relationship is so important and lauding the relationship. And now President Trump is saying that we have lost India to China. So it also has to do that President Trump, perhaps now it looks like that is in a mood to open a China chapter. Okay, so many experts were saying this, that he has still not opened the China chapter. So it could also be seen as he wants to open a China chapter, and bringing India, China, Russia together. He wants to bash all three countries. So that could also be one of the view as far as this particular post by President Trump is concerned. But as I said, Indian side, New Delhi is very much committed to take this relationship forward. There has been 2+2 official level dialogue. Our teams are in Alaska for the Yuddha Abhyas. There was a defense policy group from DC traveling to India to discuss defense cooperation with New Delhi. In fact, yesterday Piyush Goyal said that it is just a rough patch in a relationship, perhaps, and both this relationship has seen many such rough patches in the past also, and he's committed that very soon there's going to be a trade deal between India and the United States. So as I said, that this relationship is beyond personalities, and perhaps I shouldn't be saying this since he's the president of the United States, but it should not be taken very, very seriously, or should not be too much reading between the lines at this point in time. And as I said, that both sides,
which is probably also why we saw the MEA be tight-lipped about it when it was asked a specific question on Donald Trump's latest post. But Siddharth, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. Shifting focus now, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, in an exclusive conversation with Group Editor-in-Chief Rahul Joshi, spoke about the vision behind the GST reform, the impact it will have, and much more. She also attacked the opposition and the remarks that were made against not just the GST reform, but also against India's economy as a whole. Listen in to that exclusive conversation.
Well, the Prime Minister did announce it from the Red Fort on Independence Day. But even about 8 months ago, he called me once and had a long talk about how GST can be, revamped, looked at, and only from one point of view. He said, look, both from the point of view of the process and also for the common man, the tax rates, is there a way in which we can make it simpler? So I had agreed that I will go into it and come back to him. Then around the budget, when we were talking about many tax related issues, he reminded me about the work which has got to be done, and I assured him again that time that yes, the work is progressing and I'll come back to him. So sometime after the budget session was over of the Parliament, I said I'm somewhere close to giving him a proposal, which he can guide me further and so on. And then a bit later, much later, because the developments of May, April, when Operation Sindoor had happened, and after April priorities have been on very many different grounds, and when next opportunity came, I went, gave him a detailed description. Is that I just want, as I said at the first meeting, the simplistic or simplified, not simplistic, simplified way of doing business. So I don't want small businesses sitting at the computer, getting the auditor to do it. And also, like the way we did in the budget, respecting the middle class, respecting the taxpayer, respecting people who are really the ones out of their salaries giving the tax. We need to do something for the day-to-day indirect tax, which falls on every Indian citizen in some way or the other. So this tax is something which touches the lives of every citizen. and therefore we need to be a lot more sensitive. So I went back with this comment, redid it, sharp focused it, and that's how this proposal came. And we, for the first time in GST's history, Council's history, the centre has come up with a proposal. Till now it used to be the group of ministers which consisted only of state ministers. Never has the centre been a part of any GOM. This is the first time, both in the case of the compensation cess, where the MOS Finance central government was the chair to decide how to handle the closure of the compensation cess, and a comprehensive proposal as regards GST being given by the central government.
So Rahul Gandhi, who earlier called it Gabbar Singh tax, now has been talking about one nation, one tax. On the other hand, former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram, he said that, it is 8 years too late. How do you react to all of this?
Well, being in the opposition, I think they have to say something. When the popular response has been so overwhelming, for an opposition to try to take some credit out of it, but yet with a hesitation that the credit should not be completely given to the government is quite understandable. But I would want them to ponder that neither could they bring it in because they couldn't win the confidence of the states, nor could they truly and literally understand how the mechanism works. After all, the GST Council has members from Congress party,
yes.
Finance ministers from Congress ruled states are there. But I have a feeling the Congress High Command, as they call it, doesn't do its homework to understand the way in which this wonderful organization works, the GST Council. And therefore at one point in time they call it Gabbar Singh tax, another point in time saying, oh, this is fine but it should have come earlier. These are clearly statements coming from people who have not really spent time to understand how post-independence, that one institution which has been created, a constitutional body, if I'm right, this is the only one which has been created post-independence,
yes,
is spent 8 years but has delivered so much in terms of revenue, in terms of uniting this country, in terms of making ease of doing business a reality, and is now coming up quickly in succession within 8 years with the second generation reforms. To understand it and then to comment would help the government, not stray comments which doesn't get into the details.
Now that tariffs with the US are at 50%, what is the likely impact on the GDP going forward?
But with the reform like this, many of that should be offset. It's a dynamic situation where you're moving from one to another with newer players coming in, newer factors coming into play. We will come out with something to handhold those who are hit by the 50% tariff from the US. This has been said earlier. I've met up with the delegations when I went to Chennai in recent past few days.
Another question about, the officials of the Trump administration have been using really hurtful language against India. Saying that we are Brahmins profiteering at the expense of, ordinary Indians, or, calling the Ukraine-Russia war Modi's war, or us as Kremlin's laundromat. How do you see all this? I mean, how do you react to something like this?
Very much the same principle as I said earlier. It is one thing, it can be hurtful. It is one thing for a foreign government, head of state or an official or anybody to say all that. And the global diplomatic world is astonished that that kind of an expression is being used against India. And that will have people in the diplomatic arena to respond or to deal with. But what hurts me more is when those very expressions are being justified in India. Oh, don't you all know, don't you, I mean, you know, dirty, unwashed Indians, you don't understand what this expression means? This is how, this is explained. Who wants these explanations from Indians? Who actually wants us to know better And who are these people explaining to us, you know, this expression is used in this context?
Yes.
I'm outraged by that. I don't want explanations to justify that. Whether I'm going to have to deal with them, stand up and challenge them or retort is a different story.
Right.
But Indians quoting those words and telling us, oh, you dirty Indians, you don't know this colonial justification of the language that is being used against Indians, against such countries which have come out of its colony and from its empire and stood up to build its own country with its own self-confidence. And even now when we are talking about Atmanirbhar, it's not just in terms of producing everything in your country. It's also about being
Self-reliant.
there is no self-respect.
Self-respect.
As much as you want everything produced in India for Atmanirbharta, you should have something of a self-respect. If somebody is saying, all of us in one voice should respond to it, rather than have a few of us justify it by saying, don't you all understand it? Are you a part of the imperialists?
No.
I'm outraged more by that.
Yeah, the opposition picking up this and, you know, making it their own narrative.
And saying,
like dead economy was picked up by Congress, Rahul
yes,
Gandhi to
and
say.
even for this, Brahmins are being are the ones who are benefiting out of it. Oh, you
explaining
Indians,
us Boston Brahmins.
yes, Boston Brahmins. Oh, you Indians, you don't understand this Russian oil purchase is to help Brahmins to benefit of it, and you are being fooled. Exactly the same divide and rule principle which the British used here, which the imperialists used here. And even today you have the friends of the imperialists telling us, no, you know, the expression Boston Brahmin is this and not that. Who damn cares? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Who damn cares? I want Indians to think for ourselves. I want those Indians who are now defending that language to get up and say, we are free from you all. Now for over 75, 80 years, we'll mind our business, we'll take care of ourselves, refrain from using these words. Should have been that voice. That not being the voice, and upar se to teach us saying, don't you know the meaning of this expression? Outrageous.
Today we've got to know Nirmala Sitharaman ko gussa kyun aata hai. Now, moving on to economy, any plans to liberalize FDI or FPI regulations further?
I do not want to give a headline, but certainly we are looking at every aspect of reform.
How do we, this is probably the right time to, you know, assure foreign investors to invest in India. What are some of the steps that we should take that would, you know, give them this confidence? You know, I mean, this one was a big one in itself, but going forward.
First thing, I think our institutions such as Parliament should debate issues, should question government on the proposals, on the policies, on government's actions. That gives confidence to people saying India's democracy actually literally discusses these issues. Without that, the government can go about doing what is right for the public, but the institution of the Parliament is not being used for its prime purpose. Why is it important? It gives a feeling that both the opposition and the ruling parties are talking on issues. Instead of holding placards and standing in the House, if there is a meaningful discussion, it will convey a lot about the policy strength. That is one thing. Second, our regulatory institutions, and I've said this before, but I'll repeat it here. Regulatory institutions should not go to the extent of micromanaging. I want businesses to do their businesses. They have powerful boards which run them, and the regulator, in consultation with the stakeholders, should allow them to function. Of course, keep a watch, right, and do a soft touch regulation. If regulators across the board, I'm not talking just of the finance domain regulators, all over, should have a open-minded approach, a soft touch approach, above all, not micromanage business.
is News18 Network. India's largest news network.
Marco Rubio said US will limit visas for Central American nationals who work on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party to carry out actions that weaken the rule of law in the region. Rubio's statement outlined a new visa policy targeting Central Americans who, while in their countries, knowingly direct, fund, support or carry out activities for the CCP that undermine law and governance. It's a big comment coming in. The visa restriction policy will allow Washington to restrict US visas for Central American nationals who, while in Central American countries, intentionally act on behalf of the CCP. Those were his words. US taking these steps to impose visa restrictions under the new policy on several Central American nationals who have previously engaged in such activity. The notification also stated that actions are being taken under a few sections of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Though Marco Rubio did not name any individuals or cite specific examples of action over which they're being targeted. Going across to Siddhant Mishra to decode this story for us. Siddhant, tell us a little bit about who really constitute as Central Americans and who are the specific people that the United States is talking about here in terms of just simplifying the story first for our viewers.
Well, yes. So this is a new, perhaps notification which has come from the State Department. There was one notification already in existence in May that came for the revocation of visas of the Chinese nationals, especially students and people working in the critical sectors in the United States. Now, this is a new notification which has come, perhaps for the revocation of visas of those who are from the Central American countries, and as per the State Department claims that these people are working closely with Chinese Communist Party, and the State Department also has to say that CCP directly fund, authorize, provide significant support, carry activities that undermine the rule of law in Central America. So
this is News18 Network. India's largest news network.
Marco Rubio said US will limit visas for Central American nationals who work on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party to carry out actions that weaken the rule of law in the region. Rubio's statement outlined a new visa policy targeting Central Americans who, while in their countries, knowingly direct, fund, support or carry out activities for the CCP that undermine law and governance. It's a big comment coming in. The visa restriction policy will allow Washington to restrict US visas for Central American nationals who, while in Central American countries, intentionally act on behalf of the CCP. Those were his words. US taking these steps to impose visa restrictions under the new policy on several Central American nationals who have previously engaged in such activity. The notification also stated that actions are being taken under a few sections of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Though Marco Rubio did not name any individuals or cite specific examples of action over which they're being targeted. Going across to Siddhant Mishra to decode this story for us. Siddhant, tell us a little bit about who really constitute as Central Americans and who are the specific people that the United States is talking about here in terms of just simplifying the story first for our viewers.
Well, yes. So this is a new, perhaps notification which has come from the State Department. There was one notification already in existence in May that came for the revocation of visas of the Chinese nationals, especially students and people working in the critical sectors in the United States. Now, this is a new notification which has come, perhaps for the revocation of visas of those who are from the Central American countries, and as per the State Department claims that these people are working closely with Chinese Communist Party, and the State Department also has to say that CCP directly fund, authorize, provide significant support, carry activities that undermine the rule of law in Central America. So
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Marco Rubio said US will limit visas for Central American nationals who work on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party to carry out actions that weaken the rule of law in the region. Rubio's statement outlined a new visa policy targeting Central Americans who, while in their countries, knowingly direct, fund, support or carry out activities for the CCP that undermine law and governance. It's a big comment coming in. The visa restriction policy will allow Washington to restrict US visas for Central American nationals who, while in Central American countries, intentionally act on behalf of the CCP. Those were his words. US taking these steps to impose visa restrictions under the new policy on several Central American nationals who have previously engaged in such activity. The notification also stated that actions are being taken under a few sections of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Though Marco Rubio did not name any individuals or cite specific examples of action over which they're being targeted. Going across to Siddhant Mishra to decode this story for us. Siddhant, tell us a little bit about who really constitute as Central Americans and who are the specific people that the United States is talking about here in terms of just simplifying the story first for our viewers.
Well, yes. So this is a new, perhaps notification which has come from the State Department. There was one notification already in existence in May that came for the revocation of visas of the Chinese nationals, especially students and people working in the critical sectors in the United States. Now, this is a new notification which has come, perhaps for the revocation of visas of those who are from the Central American countries, and as per the State Department claims that these people are working closely with Chinese Communist Party, and the State Department also has to say that CCP directly fund, authorize, provide significant support, carry activities that undermine the rule of law in Central America. So
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Marco Rubio said US will limit visas for Central American nationals who work on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party to carry out actions that weaken the rule of law in the region. Rubio's statement outlined a new visa policy targeting Central Americans who, while in their countries, knowingly... Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nation at 5. A video has now gone viral showing Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar in a heated exchange with a woman IPS officer who was taking action against illegal excavation of soil in Solapur. In this 2-minute video that's now going viral on social media, Ajit Pawar was reportedly heard speaking to the sub-divisional police officer on the phone of a Nationalist Congress Party worker. This incident is from the 31st of August. Pawar can be heard rebuking the officer who has reached Solapur's certain village to take action on the complaint of illegal excavation for road construction. The minister later makes a video call to her and purportedly asks her to stop the action. Now, Uddhav Sena has come down heavily on the state government, especially on Ajit Pawar, slamming him and demanding that the CM and the government take action against him and that this IPS officer gets protection. Meanwhile, Ajit Pawar has also issued a clarification on his social media. He says that his intention was not to interfere with law enforcement, but to ensure that the situation on ground remain calm.
See, Dada's tone is naturally that. He never talk arrogantly. Though people are, alleging against him, that is totally baseless. His voice naturally is like that. And he's requesting, he's telling that this has to be done, nothing else.
Yasha, my colleague, is with me, joining us and getting us more details. Yasha, this is a political controversy that the opposition seems to be gunning for, even though there is a clarification that's come to the fore from Ajit Pawar himself.
Absolutely. In fact, when we speak of this very stand that's been taken by Ajit Pawar, he is further gone ahead to say that here his intention was not to interfere in the affair of the IPS officer. Of course, we've seen that how the opposition in this very instance has gone ahead to, in fact, question the high, saying that this was high handedness, and particularly further going ahead to state that in this very instance, when it comes to Ajit Pawar, that he spoke to the IPS officer while she was on duty and while she was trying to work on the illegal mafia. It has been questioned by the opposition time and again. But however, that we speak of this in this very instance, the party NCP as well as Ajit Pawar have come to in fact clarify their stance. Now that we speak of this controversy, we of course heard the NCP state chief Sunil Tatkare state that this is very similar to what happens in a Jan Sunwai as well. When there are several people who come to the Deputy Chief Minister with complaints, he in fact looks into it and tries to provide a solution. And that's the case with this instance even now. However, opposition has in fact gone ahead to question this, saying that this was in a way trying to interfere or meddle with the affairs of a government officer. Yes.
Right, Aisha, stay on with us. In fact, let's listen into what exactly transpired. That video that's now going viral on social media, that phone call, which started with an audio call and then became a video call. Let's take a look at that video.
सर वो मुझे आप एक काम कीजिए, आप मुझे मेरे फोन में मतलब डायरेक्ट कॉल कीजिए ना।
एक मिनट, मैं तेरे ऊपर एक्शन लूंगा। अभी मैं खुद आपके साथ बोल रहा हूँ कि आप मुझे डायरेक्ट कॉल बताती हो।
सर मुझे कैसे पता है आप सर समझ रही है सर, जो आप बोल रही है समझ रही है, पर मुझे
सुनो मुझे देखना है ना, तेरा नंबर दे दो या व्हाट्सएप कॉल करो।
ठीक है सर,
मैं यहाँ से बोल देता हूँ।
Yasha, now the NCP is trying to downplay this, claiming that this is just his tone and he wasn't being arrogant. But in that video, it's very clear. He goes on to threaten her and trying to stop her from doing her job.
Absolutely, and which is why we've seen that after this video went viral was where there's also an FIR now that has been filed against the people who in fact happened to call up Ajit Pawar. Now, which is where those who had in fact called up Ajit Pawar, they were NCP workers, as so it was made evident in the video itself. There were 10 of them against whom this FIR has been filed, wherein sections of illegal mining as well as trying to obstruct the government officer from performing a duty have been charged against them. Like we in fact saw that in this very video, on the basis of this call that was made by Baba Jagtap, who was an NCP party worker, this very IPS officer was obstructed from doing her work, and immediately once this very video came to forth was where questions were time and again being raised by the opposition party leaders as well. Opposition in fact went ahead to also speak about that this is just the way how the government operates. That is the allegation that has been leveled by the opposition party, stating that that the government has been trying to shield their party workers and obstruct the government from performing, obstruct officers from performing their duty. Yes.
Right, Yasha, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. But political reactions are trickling in on this video and the controversy that Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra has now triggered. Let's listen into those.
गैर कानूनी खनन का मामला है। तो महिला अधिकारी आईपीएस अंजलि कृष्णा यंग ऑफिसर है, उसने उसकी इलाके की अवैध खनन का जो पूरा काम है बंद कर दिया। इसलिए बंद किया कि इस तरीके से गैर कानूनी खनन करने से सरकारी तिजोरी का नुकसान होता है और लोगों की कंप्लेंट्स उसके पास आई, उसने वो काम बंद करवाया। तो महाराष्ट्र के अर्थ मंत्री डिप्टी सीएम अजित पवार ने उनको फोन पर धमकाया। महाराष्ट्र की हालत क्या है प्रशासन की, ये उससे स्पष्ट दिखता है। मैं देश के गृह मंत्री को ये आह्वान करता हूं कि एक युवा आईपीएस अधिकारी को आपको संरक्षण देना पड़ेगा।
Speaking of Maharashtra, there is another controversy that's brewing on the outskirts of Mumbai, where a real estate project has triggered a political storm with its advertisement that has now gone viral on social media. This promotional video that described this project as a halal lifestyle township catering specifically to Muslims. The ad, featuring a woman in a hijab, promises a safe, like-minded environment with religious amenities. The NHRC has now stepped in. They've condemned the project, calling it communal and potentially divisive for society. They've also issued a notice to the state government seeking a report. Meanwhile, the BJP has upped the ante against this builder. They claim this is a Ghazwa-e Hind plot. A letter has now also been written by one of the MLAs to Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis for his intervention and for strict action against the builders.
अतुल भाटकर ने जो चिट्ठी लिखी है उसमें से एक जो सोसाइटी है वो हिल गैलेक्सी, उन्होंने अपनी चिट्ठी में हिल गैलेक्सी के बारे में भी जानकारी दी है। आपको बताना चाहेंगे कि मुंबई से सटे मीरा रोड के विनय नगर में ये सोसाइटी है हिल गैलेक्सी, और उस पर जो पोस्टर्स हैं उस पर भी आप साफ तौर पे देख सकते हैं किस तरीके से एक खास कम्युनिटी को अट्रैक्ट करने के लिए उन जो फैमिलीज हैं उनकी जो वेशभूषा है वो उस तरीके से बनाई गई है। और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट बात है उस पोस्टर्स में जो बाहर लिखा हुआ है कि मस्जिद यानी प्रेयर हॉल, उनकी भी फैसिलिटी सोसाइटी के अंदर दी गई है। तो कहीं ना कहीं एक पर्टिकुलर कम्युनिटी को अट्रैक्ट करने के लिए इस तरीके के जो पोस्टर्स हैं, जो एक एडवर्टीजमेंट बनाए गए हैं ताकि कोई पर्टिकुलर कम्युनिटी ही इस इलाके में या इस इमारत में रह सकती है। इस तरीके की जो बिल्डिंग है वो मीरा रोड और आसपास के कई इलाकों में बनी हुई है। इसलिए अब बीजेपी जो नेता हैं अतुल भाटकर, जो विधायक भी हैं, उन्होंने बाकायदा इस सोसाइटी का नाम लेते हुए देवेंद्र फडणवीस को साफ तौर पर कहा है कि एक जो टाउनशिप, जो मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी को एक स्पेशल टाउनशिप बनाया जा रहा है, वैसे टाउनशिप बनाने की परमिशन किसी को ना दिया जाए, क्योंकि फ्यूचर में इस तरीके की जो टाउनशिप बनने से खतरा बढ़ सकता है। और मीरा रोड में ही तकरीबन 2 से 3 सोसाइटी ऐसी हैं जहां पर सिर्फ और सिर्फ मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी को ही फ्लैट बेचने या फिर वहां पर रहने की परमिशन दी जा रही है। इसलिए अब जो है इसको लेकर राजनीति भी शुरू हो चुकी है। और जैसा मैंने आपको बताया कि पोस्टर्स में आपको दिखाऊंगा फिर से कि उस पोस्टर्स में जो फैमिली दिखाई गई है, एक वो पर्टिकुलर कम्युनिटी को दिखाई गई है, कम्युनिटी की जो वेशभूषा होती है उसको दिखाई गई है। साथ ही साथ जो फैसिलिटीज इस सोसाइटी में दी गई है उसमें देखिए मस्जिद को भी दिखाया गया, प्रेयर हॉल उसमें डेडिकेटेड बनाया गया है।
Sir, tell us what was the whole objection about? What was the protest that was held here?
The thing is, they have two parts. One part that phase 1, which is handed over almost a year back. So that time in this building, almost 60% or you may say 50-50 was Hindu and Muslims. But that Muslim residents, including with the builder, they have done so much of mental torture to them so that now hardly 8 to 10 Hindu families are there, rest all are sell it and gone away.
Okay.
So now this phase 2 they have started. The banner you have already seen. The family they are showing it is full of one attire of particular community. And in their marketing strategy, marketing video, they are showing there will be a prayer hall.
Doing the TT.
Within bracket they are writing masjid. Within bracket they are writing masjid. And then they are saying that in between there will be an area for Qurbani. So you can remember 2 years back there was a big issue within this vicinity regarding Bagri Eid time. And you know very much well that as per our constitution and Supreme Court orders, there are certain authorized spaces which are called slaughterhouse. And you cannot cut any animal in the open spaces और विदिन द सोसाइटी।
आपने ये चिट्ठी लिखा था शायद देवेंद्र फडणवीस को, उस चिट्ठी के बारे में आप बता सकते हैं आपने क्या लिखा है उसमें?
देखो, ये लैंड जिहाद का एक नया प्रकार है। एक विशिष्ट कम्युनिटी के लिए यहाँ घर बनाए जाएंगे, मस्जिद बनाई जाएंगी, अपने लाइफ का स्पिरिट यहाँ मेंटेन कर सकते हैं। इस देश में स्पिरिट किसका होगा? तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का स्पिरिट है। और इसके लिए मैंने कल ही राज्य के मुख्यमंत्री और गृह मंत्री को लेटर लिख के 2 मांगे की है। एक तो इस एड के ऊपर पूरी तरह से पाबंदी डालनी चाहिए, ये मेरी पहली मांग है। और ये जो कोई लैंड जिहाद का समाज के 2 गुटों में तेड़ फैलाने का जो घिनौना प्रयास हो रहा है उसके खिलाफ उसकी तहकीकात करके जो भी इसके पीछे है उनके खिलाफ कार्रवाई करने की मांग मैंने लेटर लिख के की है।
आपकी पहली मांग ये है कि वो वीडियो इंटरनेट से हटाया जाए। क्या वो वीडियो टीवी पे भी चल रहा है? आप हमें और बता सकते हैं जो एडवर्टाइजमेंट है?
देखो, सोशल मीडिया पे तो जोर पे चल रहा है। कहीं उर्दू न्यूज़पेपर में चलता होगा तो मुझे पता नहीं, क्योंकि मैं तो उर्दू नहीं पढ़ता हूँ। लेकिन सोशल मीडिया पे, इंस्टाग्राम पे बहुत जोर में चल रहा है और इसके लिए मैं वो हटाने की मांग मैंने की है। ये गेटोराइजेशन करने का प्रयास है और मेरा एरिया इस प्रकार की गेटेड कम्युनिटीज ये अलाउड की नहीं जानी चाहिए रिलीजन के बेसिस पे। और मेरे को तो मुंबई में मालूम है कितने हिंदू एरिया में मुसलमान रहते, चैन से रहते, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है।
इस देश में सब समाज के, सब जाति धर्म के लोग रहते हैं। इस राज्य में सब जाति और धर्म के लोग रहते हैं। इस सिटी में या शहर में सब जाति और धर्म के लोग वहां पे रहते हैं और रहते आए हैं। तो कोई भी बिल्डिंग का अगर पब्लिसिटी या प्रमोशन वहां पे सिर्फ कास्ट बेस या रिलीजन बेस किया जाता है तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन वो अलाउ नहीं करती। अगर कहाँ पे किसी ने ये किया होगा उनको वो चेंज करना ही पड़ेगा। इस तरीके से कोई भी समाज या जाति धर्म के लोग हैं इस तरीके का डिफरेंशिएशन वहां पे नहीं कर सकते, ऐसा हम सबका कहना है।
It's time for a break here on this edition of Nation at 5. But a quick reminder for our viewers, Nirmala Sitharaman has spoken exclusively to Editor-in-Chief Rahul Joshi 2 days after GST 2.0 was announced. What does that mean for the Aam Aadmi? What does it mean for the economy? Don't miss to watch that interview and get all the insights on that at 7:55 p.m. this evening.
Brought to you by This is News18 Network. India's largest news network.
Marco Rubio said US will limit visas for Central American nationals who work on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party to carry out actions that weaken the rule of law in the region. Rubio's statement outlined a new visa policy targeting Central Americans who, while in their countries, knowingly direct, fund, support or carry out activities for the CCP that undermine law and governance. It's a big comment coming in. The visa restriction policy will allow Washington to restrict US visas for Central American nationals who, while in Central American countries, intentionally act on behalf of the CCP. Those were his words. US taking these steps to impose visa restrictions under the new policy on several Central American nationals who have previously engaged in such activity. The notification also stated that actions are being taken under a few sections of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Though Marco Rubio did not name any individuals or cite specific examples of action over which they're being targeted. Going across to Siddhant Mishra to decode this story for us. Siddhant, tell us a little bit about who really constitute as Central Americans and who are the specific people that the United States is talking about here in terms of just simplifying the story first for our viewers.
Well, yes. So this is a new, perhaps notification which has come from the State Department. There was one notification already in existence in May that came for the revocation of visas of the Chinese nationals, especially students and people working in the critical sectors in the United States. Now, this is a new notification which has come, perhaps for the revocation of visas of those who are from the Central American countries, and as per the State Department claims that these people are working closely with Chinese Communist Party, and the State Department also has to say that CCP directly fund, authorize, provide significant support, carry activities that undermine the rule of law in Central America. So
this is News18 Network. India's largest news network.
Marco Rubio said US will limit visas for Central American nationals who work on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party to carry out actions that weaken the rule of law in the region. Rubio's statement outlined a new visa policy targeting Central Americans who, while in their countries, knowingly direct, fund, support or carry out activities for the CCP that undermine law and governance. It's a big comment coming in. The visa restriction policy will allow Washington to restrict US visas for Central American nationals who, while in Central American countries, intentionally act on behalf of the CCP. Those were his words. US taking these steps to impose visa restrictions under the new policy on several Central American nationals who have previously engaged in such activity. The notification also stated that actions are being taken under a few sections of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Though Marco Rubio did not name any individuals or cite specific examples of action over which they're being targeted. Going across to Siddhant Mishra to decode this story for us. Siddhant, tell us a bit about who really constitute as Central Americans and who are the specific people that the United States is talking about here in terms of just simplifying the story first for our viewers.
Well, yes. So this is a new, perhaps notification which has come from the State Department. There was one notification already in existence in May that came for the revocation of visas of the Chinese nationals, especially students and people working in the critical sectors in the United States. Now, this is a new notification which has come, perhaps for the revocation of visas of those who are from the Central American countries, and as per the State Department claims that these people are working closely with Chinese Communist Party, and the State Department also has to say that CCP directly fund, authorize, provide significant support, carry activities that undermine the rule of law in Central America. So
this is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Marco Rubio said US will limit visas for Central American nationals who work on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party to carry out actions that weaken the rule of law in the region. Rubio's statement outlined a new visa policy targeting Central Americans who, while in their countries, knowingly direct, fund, support or carry out activities for the CCP that undermine law and governance. It's a big comment coming in. The visa restriction policy will allow Washington to restrict US visas for Central American nationals who, while in Central American countries, intentionally act on behalf of the CCP. Those were his words.
Welcome back. You're watching Nation at 5 and it's Onam today. Malayalis are celebrating it in full spirit. My colleague Neetu Regukumar brings us this slice of all festivities from Kerala.
The 10-day-long Onam is the most important festival for Malayalis all over. During this time, the streets of Kerala are filled with people in traditional attire, with many even dressed as King Mahabali. Wherever one sees schools, colleges or even offices, all are draped in Onam finery with floral carpets, adding a dazzling array of colors to the streets, neighborhoods and workplaces.
Usually we put it for welcoming Maveli. It's a tradition that we follow, we Keralites follow. But nowadays, I guess it's for posting photos and to get a good background for our pictures.
Legend is that former King Mahabali comes to visit his subjects every year for 10 days and the celebrations are to welcome him. Onam is also the harvest festival of Kerala. The traditional Onam Sadhya is a key highlight of the festival. Served on a banana leaf, there are more than 24 vegetable side dishes and one or more varieties of payasam, making for a heavenly feast.
For me, the best part of Onam is the Onam Sadhya. It has so many curries, different flavors, and my personal favorite is the palada. And it's always fun to have Onam Sadhya with our family, with our loved ones.
Along with the festivities, family times and fun activities are an integral part of Onam celebrations. Be it the Thiruvathira dance performances in traditional attires or games like tug of war and Uriyadi.
during Onam festival, my family will come together. All of my cousins will be there, and we will do Onam shopping together, and we exchange the dresses about to each other. That's the best part. And we conduct games in family. Very big family, and there will be a lot of children, and we conduct games and we play together.
The thing I most enjoy while the Onam season is being with my family. Family, friends, cousins, everyone spend their quality time together. We play games, we eat together, we talk together, and everybody just enjoy their time with being everyone. So that's the best thing I love about Onam.
Tradition demands Malayalis to celebrate Onam irrespective of cost, and they are doing that in full vigor. Mouth-watering Onam Sadhya, floral carpets, traditional Tiruvadira are all the flavor of this festive season. We wish all our viewers a very happy Onam. With video journalist Ablash MS in Thiruvananthapuram, Neetu Raghukumar.
Onto the world of entertainment now. Deepika Padukone has made history as the first Indian juror for the Louis Vuitton Prize 2025. Naturally, she's turning heads in a stunning ensemble that struck the perfect balance. Curious about what she wore for the big day? Watch this video.
Okay, forget the red carpet. Deepika Padukone has officially taken her place at the table. The actress and global style force has stepped into one of the fashion industry's most exclusive circles, becoming the first Indian star to join the jury for the Louis Vuitton Prize 2025. It's quite frankly a cultural statement, the kind that places her in dialogue with fashion's most powerful names, and trusts Deepika to make the moment sartorially unforgettable. She arrived in a head-turning Louis Vuitton look, an oversized silk shirt splashed with abstract yellows and earthy browns, its plunging neckline giving drama without trying. Ooh, and we absolutely loved how Deepika just effortlessly played around and experimented in a gold miniskirt dripping with floor-length fringe designed to shimmer and sway with every step. And of course, in true queen style, the accessories were minimal but commanding. Bold gold studs, sleek high heels, a compact black bag, proving that subtlety can be just as powerful as extravagance. Her makeup was perfect and sculpted, with bronze lids, winged eyes, contoured cheeks, and a rich nude brown pout, all anchored by a sleek bun that screamed Parisian glam. On Instagram, she shared her excitement with a simple, heartfelt note. Congratulations to all the winners. I cannot wait for the world to witness your magic. But it was husband Ranveer Singh who got the final word, cheekily commenting "Hot Mama" under her post. For those wondering, yes, Deepika's long-standing bond with Louis Vuitton already put her at the front lines of fashion royalty. But this new role cements her position globally. To sit alongside a jury that included Stella McCartney, Marc Jacobs, Jonathan Anderson, Nicolas Jukia, Phoebe Philo, Sylvia Venturi Fendi, Nigo, and Pharrell Williams is no small feat.
CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions.
Very good evening. You're watching Plain Speak. I'm Akanksha Swaroop, and we're coming live to you from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions. Now, the sweeping overhaul of the country's indirect tax system, GST 2.0 reforms, have continued to be the biggest talking point. Not only has the transformation further simplified the goods and services tax structure, but has also brought immediate relief to the Aam Aadmi, this with everyday basics much lesser now. However, the reforms have not been without concerns and, of course, the opposition. Leading the charge is Congress and its BD, which has become the latest flashpoint in Bihar. The Kerala unit has questioned logic behind low GST rates on BDs and claimed that it's the Bihar elections that are fueling this move. The NDA was quick to turn the attack into political ammunition, and facing heat, the Congress then took down this entire post. But here's the kicker. The damage had already been done. Even ally RJD has now distanced itself from the Congress in Bihar. Amid the political showdown, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, while speaking